Good evening. We're going to get started momentarily. Chag Purim Sameach. As you're coming in, please take a blue Siddur Sim Shalom, a white Megillah Esther booklet, and a white sheet with the Astoria Center of Israel logo. Whew. All right. Erev Tov. I love getting us started on time. It is wonderful to see all of you here at Purim at ACI. For those I have not met, I see some familiar and unfamiliar faces in the community. I am Rabbi Josh, the rabbi of ACI, and I actually promise you that I have a costume, but I'm saving my formal wear for when we actually start. Come on in, and a last reminder that you should take a blue Siddur Sim Shalom, a white Megillah Esther booklet, and a white sheet of paper with the colorful, beautiful ACI logo on it. Tonight is going to go as follows. Believe it or not, Megillah Esther is something that we read as a part of the evening service, otherwise known as Ma'ariv. So we are going to be doing that, which is why it is in this sheet. If you're wondering what these songs have to do with Ma'ariv, I guess you'll find out in a few moments. We will then read from Megillah Esther, and I see some people. Who has a grogger? Make a noise if okay. I'll explain to you how the Megillah reading is going to work for this evening, and then we will, of course, just celebrate our freedom from this Purim evening. So we are in our Siddurim on page 281, and I need to put on my formal wear. I told you I have a different costume for tomorrow, but this is like the formal interview wear for an Angry Bird with the jacket and I got it. Okay, yes. Okay, please rise. Page 281 for the Baruch. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamborach. Baruch Adonai Hamborach. Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher v'barovar v'barovar. Ma'avir yom Magdil ben Yom uben Laila Adonai Tzvaot Shemo El Chai v'Kayam Tamin Yimloch Aleinu Leolam Vaed Baruch Ata Adonai Hamariv Aravim. Page 281 at the bottom. Avad Olam Beit Yisrael. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yavinu uvanege yomam v'alayla v'avadcha atisir mimenu leolamim baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Page 282, Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'kol levavcha, v'kol nafshecha, v'kol meodecha, v'hayu ha'devarim ha'eleh. Asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta b'ham v'shivtecha b'veitecha v'lachtecha v'derech u'shokbecha u'kumecha u'kshartam leot ayadecha v'yololavo b'neinecha u'ktavtam amazuzo beitecha u'visharecha. We continue through the top of 283. V'aya im shema tishmeu mitzvotai asher anochi mitzavetchem hayom li'ahavat Adonai Elohechem lovdo b'chol nefshechem v'natati mitzartzechem b'ito yorei makosh v'yasavta deganecha v'tiroshcha v'yitzarecha v'atyasadecha limimtecha v'achata v'savata Hishamru lachem v'yivtel levavchem v'sartem v'man yirbu yemechem v'mei ahadama asher nishba Adonai lavotechem latet lahem k'mei shamayim al haaretz v'yomer Hashem mordavir el b'nei Yisrael yomer ta'alehem yasu lahem tzitzit al kanfei v'dehem l'dorotam v'natnu al tzitzit al kanaf v'til b'chelem v'yolachem l'tzitzit rishamoto u'schartem kol mitzvot Adonai v'situm otam v'lo taturu acharei levavechem v'acharei nechem asher atem zonim achareyhem l'man tizkuru. Oh my, I don't know who that is. I can't see. Adonai Elohechem. We're on page 283. Middle of page 283, or bottom of 283 in the bold. Micha, Micha Mocha, Ba'elim Adonai. Micha, Micha Mocha, Nedar Ba'kodesh. Nora Tehilot Osef Eleh. Micha, Micha Mocha, Ba'elim Adonai. Malchutecha ravanecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe ze'eli anu ve'ameru Adonai yimlo le'olam vo'ev v'nemar kipad Adonai Yaakov u'ge'alo miyad kazav mimenu baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. We're on page 284. Shmor tzeitenu uvoenu lechayim uleshalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Baruch atah Adonai Shomer Amo Yisrael. We continue with the Chatzi Kaddish, middle of page 285. Yitkada ve'yitkada shemei Rabba be'alma divrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei b'chayechon u'vyomechon chayei dechol beit Yisrael b'gala u'bizman kariv ve'imeru Amen. Yishmir v'barach le'olam v'lo me'almaya. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudasha berichu le'la min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechamata damran b'alma ve'imru Amen. We rise for the silent Amidah for Ma'ariv, which begins on page 286b. Please do not forget to include the passage of Al Hanisim for Purim, which is found on page 290. Please recite the Amidah in Hebrew or English, whichever language is most meaningful to you. And of course, this is also a perfect opportunity for offering your own personal prayers before God. says Shalom, Shalom Bimromav. Hu Yaseh Shalom. Oh, says Shalom, Shalom Bimromav. Hu Yaseh Shalom. Hu Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu, ay kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oh, say Shalom, Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh Shalom. We continue on page 294. By the way, in case you were wondering, I didn't put this on until I started because it's really hot wearing this hat.
Wearing what?
Exactly, yes, wearing what? So I think people were looking at me a little cross-eyed, like, why is the rabbi not wearing a costume? And, well, it's just very hot under here. My costume for tomorrow is even hotter. Okay, so page 294. Yitkada ve'yitkada Shemei Rabba ve'alma divrach irutei ve'amlich malchutei ve'chayechon uvyomechon uvechayedecho ben Yisrael v'gala uvizman kariv ve'imeru amen. Yehi Shalom Shmei Rabba Mivarach Le'alamu Amei Almaya Yipara ve'yishtabach ve'yipar ve'yitrama ve'yitnaseh ve'yitadar ve'yitale ve'yitalal shemed kusha berichu leila min kol birchata ve'shirata tushbechata ve'nechemata damiran bi'alma ve'imeru amen. Tikapel selok techon uva'utchon dechol Yisrael kadam avuhon divishmaya ve'imeru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael Yeshlama Rabba min Shmaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Okay. Thank you. Now that we have done the Mariv, or well, most of the Mariv portion of our service, it is time to begin the reading of this brown tube. It actually contains Megillah Esther inside of it. So just a few words about Purim and reading Megillah Esther here. So I included something at the bottom of your outline that not everyone necessarily knows, which is that Although Megillah Esther, like every Jewish scroll, is written in Hebrew, I suppose some are written in Aramaic, but you get the idea. The Mishnah actually says that you can read Megillah Esther in the language that people understand in the event that Hebrew may not be the best language for them to understand. So, tonight, for Megillah Esther, we are going to be reading some parts of chapters in Hebrew, and some parts of chapters in English. Sometimes the English will be with just reading it, and sometimes it will be with the actual trope that you would do in the English. For those who just have never experienced that before, you should know that it's actually quite well grounded in Judaism that you should do that when you want people to understand what it is that they are reading. That is number one. Instructions. I actually grew up at a synagogue with a gigantic stoplight that only was used on Purim. Red light, green light, yellow light. But we don't really need that light, because all you need to know is that when we are reading Megillah Esther, when we hear a certain name, you can assume that it is a green light. And then when it is not, it is a red light, and we will continue reading. That name, which I am not going to say, well, I'm not going to say until we get to the third chapter. That's where we meet the person whose name I'm not going to say, but rhymes with, but has the same starting letter as Hamantashen. But I want to make sure that everyone is ready and prepared to follow instructions. So let's just do one trial run, as long as we can possibly do it, to get out of our system and get warmed up for the Megillah reading. So when we say the name Harriet the Spy, we will... No, not Harriet the Spy? It's not Harriet the Spy. Fine. When you say the name, oh, I know. The name is Harmon Killebrew, Hall of Fame first baseman for the Minnesota Twins. No, it's not that? Fine. The H is failed Senate candidate Herschel Walker. No? No. Easy now. So I know that name starts with an H, though. What's the name? Oh, yes? Oh! Okay. Awesome. Okay, so you all are ready to go, and we are ready to read. So what I'm going to do before each chapter is I'm going to tell you which verses we are reading from that chapter, because we're not reading whole chapters tonight. My goal for all of you is that next year we have a whole new batch of Megillah Esther readers. I mean, not that you all don't love looking at my face in my gigantic bird costume tonight, but our goal is to have a lot of other readers here by next year as well. So, with that, the brachot for Megillah Esther are found on page 220 in your Sidurim. And you all will rise for the brachot that are recited before the reading of the Megillah. And then when I start, you can all be seated. And what is totally awkward for this evening, I'm using my cell phone as a weight to hold down Megillah Esther. This is like the one night that I can't even tell people not to have their phone in shul, because it's not the same kind of holiday. So, page 220. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mikra Megillah. We say Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim lavotenu bayamim hahem ubazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shechayanu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. We are on the first chapter. You may be seated. We are on the first chapter of Megillah Esther. I may ask a volunteer to yell out the page so I can keep track of the actual scroll. We are reading from the first chapter, verses 1 through 5. Vayhi b'mei Achashverosh, hu Achashverosh, hamelech me'odu v'yaku sheva, v'esrim me'a medina bayamim hahen. Kishevet hamelech Achashverosh al kisei malchuto asher b'shushan habira b'shna shalosh lemolko asta mishteh l'chol sarav avadav kel paras umadai hapartemim b'sarei hamdino lefanav Beharoto et osher kivo malchuto v'yikar tifer gedulato yamim rabim shonim me'ad yom uvimlod hayamim ha'eleh oseh hamelech olam hanimsaim b'shushan habira lemegadol v'yakatan mishteh shivat yamim b'chatzar Kinat bitan hamelech. So, in the first chapter of Megillah Esther, we have a king whose name is King Charles III. No, gosh. You know, I can't stand any stories about the royal family, but it's gotten me so distracted that I thought that was the king. What's the name of the king? Yes? His name is Achashverosh, and he has a gigantic party, and he invites his wife, who is named Kim Kardashian. No, sorry, what was her name? Vashti. Oh my goodness. And does Vashti decide to come to the party? No, and for the kids who were here on Friday night, she decides that she wants to stay home and do what? Thank you, Kiwi, our young 5-year-old from there. Yes, she wants to stay home and read and stay in her comfy pants. So she says no. And now the people of Shushan must find a new member of Achashverosh's royal court, which picks us up in chapter 2, which will be read by Ari Gershon, chapter 2, verses 5 to 11. We got to get you ahead there. What? Oh, you're going to read it out of there? Okay. What page? Ari is on page 182. Whenever you're ready.
Yeshuli hayav Shushan Hamira Shmo Mordechai Ben Yair Ben Shimi Ben Kish Shimini Asher Haglami Yerushalayim Hagala Asher Haglasa Im Yechanyan Melech Yehuda Asher Hagla Nebuchadnezzar Melech Babel Ayi Omein Sadasa Esther Pastodoki Aim La Alvaim Kahana Roy Pastor the Basmare Remos Adia Ima La Kafa Mordechai Lo Levas Lai Shamad Vahamela Taso Uhi Kaves Oros Rambos El Shushan Avira, El Yad Hegai, Batilokach Esther, Kes HaMelech, Yad Hegai Shomer Hanashim Latitav Hanara Beinav Latisaf Esed Lefanav Levahel Estam Rukeav Estunosehel Lasesla Be'esi Shabbat Hanaros Aroyos Lasesla Mides HaMelech Vaishanes Naraseha L'to Beis Hanashim Lo Higida Esther Sama Be'es Malvadatoha Ki Mordechai Tziva Aleha Asher Lo Tagid Ubechol Yom Vayom Mordechai Misalech Lefnei Tzar Beis Hanashim Lo Das Es Shom Esther Es Ma'yaseh Ba.
Yasher Koch. So there is a Jewish man. He's actually referred to this way. A Jewish man who lives in the city of Shushan. His name is Adam Sandler. No? Okay, this is getting. Oh, no. What's his name? His name is Mordechai, and he lives in the city of Shushan. And he has a member of his family, a lovely young woman named Esther. Okay, good. I thought it was Doc McStuffins. That was my daughter's 1-year-old Purim costume. I just assumed it was the same thing. And he encourages Esther to go to the court of Achashverosh and become a part of his royal court. You can all look up more what it means to be a part of the king's royal court some other time. But let's just say that Vashti is no longer a part of it, and Esther wants to now be a part of it. And she wins the contest and is now a part of the royal court, which brings us to chapter 3, which I believe is being read by, where is Elisa Blumenthal? Now, before she reads, in the 3rd chapter, we are introduced once again to Harmon Killebrew. No, I won't even try the Herschel Walker thing again. Okay, so we're going to hear a name that you shall say. Well, you know what to do at this point. Oh, yes? Okay. What's that a bear of?
Your boy.
Oh, okay.
It's Paddington Bear.
Oh, it's Paddington.
He's just been really well loved.
Okay. He's got both of his eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What page are you on?
I'm on page 184, chapter 3, verse 1.
All right.
After these events, did King Achashverosh make great Haman, the son of Hamada the Agagite, and he advanced him, and he placed his seat above that of all the princes that were with him. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bent the knee and prostrated themselves to Haman. For so had the king commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bent not the knee, nor prostrated himself. Then said the king's servants who were in the king's gate unto Mordecai, why have you transgressed the king's command? Now it came to pass when they spoke unto him day by day, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told it to Haman. For he had told them that he was a Jew. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bent not the knee, nor prostrated himself to him, Haman became full of fury. But it appeared too contemptible in his eyes to lay his hand on Mordecai alone, for they had told him of the people of Mordecai. Therefore,
What? Yeah, exactly.
sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout all the kingdom of Ahasuerus, the people of Mordecai.
Yisharko fake to elite. Oh, one more Haman, just because Haman. Now I was pretty sure that the H name stood for Henrietta Lacks, upon whom modern genetics could not have possibly been there, but apparently it's someone else. So I learned something. Okay, so we've got some trouble brewing up. We're going to take a first pause here and have our first Purim song that is not from the Megillah, and hopefully some of you can sing along with me. Yeah? Oh, once there was a wicked, wicked man, and Haman was his name. Sir, he would have murdered all the Jews, though they were not to blame, sir. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And not some Haminta. Shin and Esther was the lovely queen of King. When Haman said he'd kill us all, oh my, how he did scare us. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And not some Hamintashin. There are 3 other verses which we're going to get to when it's actually an appropriate point in the story. We are now on chapter 4. Chapter 4, which will be read by Ari once again, verses 12 through 17. You all right? Little wet behind the ears there. Okay.
ויגידו למרדכי אש דברי אסתר, ויאמר מרדכי להשיב אסתר, אל תדמי בנפשך, ממלאת בית המלך מכל היהודים, כי אם החרש תפרישי בעת הזאת רבע חצלה יעבוד ליהודים ממקום אחר ואף ביסן אביך תאבדו ומי יודע אם לעת כזו שהגעת למלכות ותאמר אסתר להשיב אל מרדכי לכנוס את כל היהודים הנמצאים בשושן ותובו עלי ואל תאכלו ואל תשתו 3 ימים לילה ויום גם אני ונערוס צאצאי עצוב כן ובכן אבוא אל המלך אשר לא קדוש וכאשר עבדתי ויעבור מרדכי ויעש ככל אשר ציווה לו אסתר.
Yasher Koach. Okay, so things are getting real in Shushan. So real. And as we enter the 5th chapter, I want to teach some of you something that most people don't necessarily know about things you can yell out during the Megillah reading. So everyone is aware that you can yell out in the Megillah reading with your groggers when you hear the name, Howard Hughes or Haman. But actually, you're also supposed to make noises when you hear the name of Haman's wife. Now, anyone know the name of Haman's wife? Haman's wife her name is Zeresh, which is a kind of snake. So needless to say, Megillah Esther is not that fond of Zeresh either. And normally I would not condone referring to a person's spouse as a snake, but since we boo her husband, there's really no reason we shouldn't be booing Zeresh as well. So when you do Zeresh, so actually for Zeresh, you make a sound like a snake, like a. So every time you hear Zeresh's name, you've got to go. Can everyone try that with me? If you can make a more snake-like sound, you're more than welcome to. But in case you didn't know, you're allowed to bring out multiple sounds during the reading of Megillah Esther, which brings us to chapter 5, verses 9 to 14. Can someone just yell out the page number for me, because I do not. What page? 187. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just finding my spot here. Okay. Vayetze Haman. Got you right off the bat. Vayom hahu sameach v'tov lev v'karod Haman et Mordechai v'shar hamelech v'lo kam v'lo zami menu vayimale Haman al Mordechai chema vayitapek Haman vayavo el beito vayishalach vayavet avav v'et Zeresh Ishto, Vaysaper lahem Haman, et kibod ashro v'rov anav, v'yed asher gilo hamelech, v'yed asher niso ha'esharim v'yadei hamelech, v'yomer Haman, af lo heviya Esther hamalka im hamelech, amishter asher asata ki imoti, וגם למחר אני קראו לה עם המלך בכל זה איננו שווה לי בכל עת אשר אני רואה את מרדכי יהודי יושב בשער המלך ותאמר לו זרש אשתו בכל עבד יעשו את כבוד 50 אמה ובבוקר אמור למלך ויבוא מרדכי עליו ובוא עם המלך המשתה שמח V'itav hadavar lifnei Haman vayas ha'etz. So, once again, things are getting real. And back in a couple of chapters ago, Mordechai actually did a great thing for Achashverosh. He saved him from people who were trying to kill the king. Can't imagine why such a beloved ruler would have an assassination attempt. And so Achashverosh goes to Haman and he says, what should we do with a person who has done such wonderful things for the king? And naturally, Haman thinks that Achashverosh is asking about him. So he tells him that he should lead him through the streets. And he asks his wife, Zeresh, what she should do. And he says he should be led through the street in a parade. And it turns out when Haman gives us instruction to Achashverosh says that it is Mordechai who must be led through the streets of Shushan by Haman. And naturally, this made Haman very, 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 very happy to be bested once again by Mordechai. which brings us to the second chapter. I will be reading in this chapter, I will be reading this chapter in English, or parts of this chapter in English, with the trope that is telling you the story that you just heard. So see if you can follow along. We're doing verse 1 through 10, which is on page 180. Thank you. On that very night, sleep deserted the king, and he asked his servants to have brought to him the book of records, the royal chronicles, that they be read before the king. They found written this, that Mordecai had spoken out against Bigtana and Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs, guardians of the threshold, who had sought to lay hand on King Achashverosh. And the king said, what was done with honor, what honor or advancement to Mordecai for this? They replied, the servants of the king who attended him, they haven't done a thing for him. Who is in the king? Then the king asked, who is in the courtyard? For Haman had entered the court of the king's palace, the outermost court, to speak to the king about hanging Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. And they replied, the servants of the king, to him, that is Haman standing in the courtyard. And the king said, let him enter. And so he did enter, Haman. The king said to him, what should be done for a man whom the king desires to honor? And Haman thought in his heart, whom indeed would he desire, whom would delight the king to give honor more than me? So Haman said to the king, for the man whom the king desires to honor, let them bring a royal robe, which have been worn by the king, and a horse which have been ridden by the king, on which they would put a royal crown on his hand. Having delivered the robe and the horse into the hand of the man who is the prince of the king, a nobleman, who will dress the man whom the king delights to honor, he should lead him on horseback through the city square and proclaim before him, this is what to be done, whom the man wants to honor. But the king said to Haman, act quickly then, take now the attire and the horse, as you have said, and do this to Mordecai the Jew, who is sitting at the palace gate. Leave nothing of all that you propose. Okay, so naturally Haman is very, very happy with all of this, with all that is being done in his honor, which brings us to chapter 7, where Queen Esther approaches King Achashverosh. By the way, if you would like to meet a character in the entire corpus of Jewish literature who has impulse control problems, you would do worse than choosing Achashverosh as a king, because apparently the rumor is that if you approach the king without permission, he will just kill you, which seems a little bit harsh. Yeah, which brings us to verse number 3 in chapter 7, which is on page 189, thank you. Verse number 3. Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in your eyes, O king, and it seems good to the king, grant me my life, this is my request, and the life of my people, that is my desire. For we have been sold, myself and my people, to be destroyed, slain, and annihilated. If it were only that, as slaves and servant girls we have been sold, I would have kept quiet. As things are, the persecutor certainly is not worth the damage done to the king. And answered King Ahasuerus, saying to Esther the queen, who is he and where is he who put in his heart to do such a thing? And Esther replied, the man, our persecutor and the enemy, is this wretch Haman. Here and Haman
was terrified before the king and the queen. Then the king arose in his wrath from the feast of wine, going to the palace garden. Haman remained to plead for his soul to Esther the queen, for he saw that resolved against him to destroy him was the king. Now, we are now in chapter 7, and Ahasuerus is quite angry at this person named Haman. And Ahasuerus, being this master of good decisions, has a little bit of a problem, which is that he has already decreed that all the Jews of Shushan are to be killed by the people of Shushan. And he has to figure out a way to reverse this harsh decree, which brings us to chapter 8, verses 7 through 9, which is on page 190. Okay, got to find my place in. We are going back to Hebrew. Sorry, when you're toggling between English and Hebrew, it can get a little bit hard. Okay. Vayomer hamelech Achashverosh le'Esther hamalka u'Mordechai ha'Yehudi hine beit Haman natati le'Esther v'ito talu al ha'etz asher shalach yado ba'Yehudim v'atam kitavu al Yehudim ketov b'einechem b'shem hamelech v'chitmu v'tavat hamelech ki katav asher nichtav b'shem hamelech v'nachtom v'tabat hamelech ein lehashiv v'karvu sofrei hamelech ba'et haki b'chodesh hashishi u'chodesh sivan v'shlosha v'esrim bo v'yichov k'chol asher ziva Mordechai Yehudim v'el ha'achashte dar panim ufako v'sarei amdinot asher maruvi ad kusheva v'esrim v'amedina kichtava v'amalam kil shono v'al Yehudim kichtavam v'chil shonam. So the Jews are allowed to fight back, but there is this little matter of Haman and his sons, who Zeresh. You really got to work on that Zeresh. I know, I completely baffled your minds with another sound you could make. Well, unfortunately, in what is known as irony, only of the variety that Megillah and Esther can provide for us, Haman and his sons are going to be hung on the gallows that he built for Mordecai, which brings us to the second half of our song. Remember the other song that we sang? Yes. So, we'll start with the chorus again. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And Nasham Haminta Shin, when Mordechai, the cousin, heard, he said, what a bit of chutzpah if guns were but invented now. This Haman I would shoot, sir. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And Nasham Haminta Shin, the guest of honor, he, as in Haman, he shall be this son and Mr. Smarty, and high above us he shall swing at a little hanging party. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. Oh, today will Mary, Mary be. And Nasham Hamin Tashin. You know, I just got to think this book is kind of violent. Just a hunch. Maybe that's why more people don't read it in English. We are on chapter 9, verse 1. And you should notice that in Beginning in verse 7, we have the sons of Haman. It is a custom to read the names of the sons of Haman as fast as possible so that we should not remember their names, for they were just as wicked as their father. Page 192. And in the 12th month, that is the month of Adar, on the 30th day off, when the king's command with his law drew near to put into execution, on the day that his enemies of the Jews had hoped to have power over them, which had been changed nevertheless, so that the Jews had power over those that hated them. The Jews assembled together in their cities throughout all the provinces of King Ahasuerus to stretch out their hand against those that sought their injury, and no man could keep standing before them, for dread of them had fallen upon all the nations, and all the rulers of the provinces, and the lieutenants, and the governors, and the superintendents. I don't think superintendents is actually a word in the Megillah, because the dread of Mordecai had fallen upon them, for Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went throughout all the provinces. For the man Mordecai became greater and greater, and the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter and extermination, and they acted with those hated them according to their pleasure. And in Shushan, the capital, the Jews slew and exterminated 500 men. And Parshandatha, and Dathon, and Aspata, and Porata, and Adayav, and Ridafa, and Parmashta, and Arisai, and Aridai, and Azatha, the 10 sons of Haman. This is actually the last time we will hear the name. So let's do it one more time. The sons of Haman. The son of Medatha, the adversary of the Jews did they slay, but to the spoil they did not stretch forth their hand. Well, this is where I get serious for a moment. I mean, it's Purim. We're not really supposed to be that serious, but it is important to remember one thing about Purim that I think reminds us of what happens in this chapter after they kill everybody, because that also happens. Purim is all about opposites. So everything that happens is kind of the opposite of the way you'd imagine it would happen. So for example, queens are not chosen in beauty contests. At least not in Persia, they were not. Or Mordecai being driven by Haman. Not you there. By the person who wants to kill him, and then Haman dying on the very gallows that he built for Mordecai. This is what we call opposites. The most important opposite of the story of Purim is that both Purim begins and ends with a party. But the party begins with Ahasuerus, and it ends with him kicking out Vashti because she wanted to wear her what, Kiwi? Her comfy pants, yes. Her comfy pants. And that party ultimately brings about the Jews' destruction. But the Jews, when they celebrate their victory over Ahasuerus, they have a party and give mishloach manot and matanot la'evyonim, presents for their friends and presents for the people who are poor, because they want to show how you really party and understand your good fortune. And that, my friends, is the other secret of Purim that we do not often talk about. And with that, we are going to turn to the final chapter of the book of Megillah Esther, chapter 10. Thanks, Kiwi. Vayasem hamelach Achashverosh ma'azaretz ayeham v'chol ma'aseh tafku u'gvurato u'parashat gedulat Mordechai asher gilo hamelech halo hen kiduvim al sifrei divrei hayamim l'malchei midei paras ki Mordechai Yehudi mishnei lamelech Achashverosh gadol haYehudim v'ratzui l'rov echav Darash tov le'amo v'dover shalom lechol zaro. And this, my friends, is the conclusion of the reading of Megillah Esther. Please rise for the brachot that we recite at the end. And please have your grogers ready. Don't worry, his name is not in here, but we'll... Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam harav et riveinu v'hadan et dineinu v'anokem et nikmatenu v'amshalesh k'mulach kol ovei nafshenu v'nifla lanu mitzareinu Baruch atah Adonai hanifra li'amo Yisrael mikol tzareihem ha'el ha'moshiach. Now pull out your groggers. We are done with the booing, but we still can use our groggers. Chag Purim, Chag Purim, Chag Gadol HaYehudim, Masechot Rashanim, Zemirot Rikudi, Havana Risha, Rush, 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 Havana Risha, Rush, 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 Havana Risha, Rush, 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 Parashanim. Okay. Woo! We are coming around the home stretch, my friends. Please remain standing for Kaddish Shalem. No special show tunes for this one because once we're done saying Haman, most people have tired with listening to the rabbi talk, if they were not already tired already. Page 294. Yikadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba b'yamad yivrach yirutzelus malchutei v'chayechon yomechon v'chayet kol beit Yisrael b'galav yizman kariv imru amen yehi shmei rabba mevarach Le'ala mi'al me'al maya yiparak yiparak yishtabach v'yipar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha brichu le'ela min kol birkata v'shirata Ravanecha mata damiram b'yama v'imro amen Tkabah slot kodvot kodakol Yisrael kodam v'hondi v'shmaya v'imro amen Yehi shlam rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imro amen Oseh shalom b'mromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imro amen. We continue on page 297 with Aleinu quietly. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol l'tekenu l'aliyotzer b'reshit sh'lasana yasot lo samanuk mishbechot ha'adama shlo sam chalkeinu aleinu kekol hamonam Kakatu b'toratecha Adonai imloch le'olam bo'ed v'nemar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. You may be seated. Those who are observing yahrzeit, those who are mourning, please remain standing for Kaddish Tome, page 298. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'yamad divarach urutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayekon uvyomechon uv'chayed echol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam l'mei maya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudsha brichu la'ela min kol birkata v'shirata tushbekata v'nechamata damiram b'yama v'imra amen yehi shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imra amen oseh shalom b'mramav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Once again, Chag Purim Sameach. Are you making announcements or do you want? Okay. I thought that was a dog. But now I see it's a walrus.
Chag Sameach, everyone. Thank you for coming for our Megillah reading. So I just want to let you know that right after the Megillah reading, which is right now, there is a tray of hamantashen. Please stay and schmooze and meet people you have never met before. There's a bottle of bourbon, and there are a couple bottles of wine, and there's water and seltzer and apple juice. So please help yourself. And on your way out, before you leave, please check the ladies' field room because every family has a Mishloach Manot basket that was sponsored by one or more members of the community. So grab your card, and you'll find out all the people who sponsored your Mishloach Manot basket, and grab a basket on your way out. Chag Sameach.
One more announcement. So if you happen to commute in the mornings from the 30th Street subway station, I will be there tomorrow morning, probably sometime between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, with hamantashen and in costume. Please do not laugh too hard at me, but feel free to take pictures if any of you commute from that subway station. Chag Purim Sameach, Laila Tov, everybody.